With fan games being such a huge part of the FNaF community, many over the years have wondered what the first actual FNaF fan game was. These fan games are spread across the internet with platforms like GameJolt and Scratch letting just about anyone very easily create and release their own regardless of experience or quality. This makes tracing back the very first fan game quite the search, especially in the present day. Being over 11 years from the release of the first game, many scraps of these original fan games become quite literally lost to time. With that out of the way, this is where the search begins. If you were to, right here, right now, search into Google or Reddit or whatever what the first Five Nights at Freddy's fan game was, there are countless people and sources over the years who believe that Five Nights at Treasure Island, being released on December 1st, 2014, was the first to come out. To those who somehow don't know, Five Nights at Treasure Island was basically about the same as all the other Five Nights at Blanks games being released by small developers, this being based off the Abandoned by Disney creepypasta. This one is pretty infamous though, as it was one of the very first to not only have some pretty good visuals comparatively, but also the first to stray away from just using lights and doors to defend yourself, this time making you shut off cameras around the building in order to lure enemies away. To give you some reference though, the other most popular legacy fan games everyone remembers, such as Candies, Flumpties, and The Joy of Creation, all were released between early to mid 2015 and 2016. I'm sure most everyone knows about Treasure Island, so I won't get into it too deep. While it was most definitely the very first FNaF fan game to leave a lasting mark on the community, still having countless remakes made to this day, but to little surprise, it is nowhere near the first fan game to be released. To those who dig a little bit deeper, another popular answer would be Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Massacre, which was released quite a while before Treasure Island on November 5th of 2014, meaning it came out less than 2 months after the original FNaF was released. This one is a bit of an interesting case, as instead of it being an actual horror game like the other FNaF fan games are, this one is some sort of first-person shooter puzzle thing. Basically, you spawn in, shoot some Freddys, and boom, you win. Obviously, there's a bit more to it, definitely not a whole lot though, but if you're interested, the YouTuber The Baddest made a whole video about it where they actually get to interview the guy who made the game, which is a very, very rare thing when it comes to these old FNaF fan games. This interview gives us some decent information, such as the reason this game was created in the first place being due to the creator, who was only 13 at the time, not being able to beat FNaF, and out of frustration wanted to shoot Freddy Fazbear with a gun, resulting in Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Massacre being created in less than a single day. Wanting to post this for whatever reason, he published the game on GameJolt, which at the same time makes it the very first FNaF fan game to be released on the platform, or so it was believed. While this one was one of the only fan games that predate FNaF 2, it still isn't nearly the first. And while Pizza Massacre being the first earliest FNaF fan game on GameJolt is technically true, that only applies to present day. And you'll see now that there are some that have just since been totally deleted or released in completely opposite corners of the internet. This is where the search becomes exponentially harder the deeper you dig. If you were to scour through the depths of YouTube for ancient fan games, there isn't much when it comes to the very first ones, as they never got very popular. There is an exception though, as a video by the channel Risk Rim showcases a remake of the original game titled Creepypasta Castle. This predates everything up to this point. It's a very bare bones version of FNaF, but replacing many of the cameras and characters with those of creepypastas such as Ben Drowned, Sonic EXE, Tails Doll, and the main character Pinkie Pie, who is featured on the main screen as well. It was originally released as a demo on October 12th, 2014, just almost a month before Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Massacre. It did in fact have its very own GameJolt page, though it was deleted sometime before 2015 for unknown reasons, along with most of the creator's social media. For the gameplay, there is none, technically, as the demo that originally released on GameJolt was completely impossible, and the full release that came just over a month after made the first night just barely beatable, but the second, once again, was impossible. The mechanics were pretty much the same as the original FNaF, just using the cameras to watch where they are and using the doors as they approach. They even used Sonic EXE as a direct replacement for Foxy. In general, this game was incredibly unstable. In the only video we have of the full version of the game, numerous bugs happen back to back to back, from ones that kill you for doing absolutely nothing to ones that just beat the game for you. Unfortunately, as of today, only the demo can be found online, and the full version is completely lost, only having the Game Jolt page being found on the Wayback Machine. So if you'd like to try this out, I'll have it linked in the description, as well as all the other games I've mentioned. Though the demo was released pretty quickly after the first FNaF game, 65 days, it still isn't the first, and is somehow nowhere near it. If you've been on my channel before, you'll remember the game 10 Scary Nights, or known by its actual title, Night Two Crazies, along with the last game were entries that I covered on my FNaF Lost Media iceberg. Since then, this game has been identified and completely found, so let's take a look. This game was released on October 7th by Chris Antoni, and its official title, Night Two Crazies, instead for the Xbox 360. To give some perspective, the first time I came across this game was through a comment on a very old Reddit post asking for some FNaF fan game suggestions, one of those suggestions being 10 Scary Nights. Upon searching for the game, not much came up aside from 1 or 2 Let's Play videos from some super small channels, none of which contained any trace back to a link or any developer. Searching through pretty much all I can with the name 10 Scary Nights and coming up with nothing, I gave up and included it in the video. Not long after though, many comments stated how they remembered playing this game as a kid on their Xbox, some even remembering the official title, Night Two Crazies. With the discovery of the title, just plugging the name of the game into Steam lets you purchase and play the game for literally $1. This still leaves me with one big question though: where did the people who originally played this game find it at? Because it definitely wasn't called Night Two Crazies on PC until supposedly 2016 when it was released on Steam. The gameplay of this one, like the rest, isn't anything too special outside of the usual point-and-click horror mechanics. While the game would suggest there only being one night, there are actually more. In this case, you are asked by your friend to test out their security system where you monitor and defend from intruders, all while monitoring your sanity, which acts pretty much like this game's version of Power. I wish I could say more about it, I just don't have the chance to play the game at the moment as I don't actually have a PC anymore. While this game was released less than 2 months after the first FNaF game, it still isn't the very first one. As we go further though, this is in fact the very first independently released FNaF fan game that doesn't reuse any of the original FNaF characters. So I guess it gets a gold star and a high five for that. But this isn't nearly where it ends, as this isn't even half of the games on my list I have to talk about. So if you've enjoyed so far, as I said, I literally don't have a PC anymore, so going farther back into September of 2014, another very early FNaF fan game, and the first independently released fan game we know of on Game Jolt, FNaF 3D Demo, was released on September 26th of 2014. This was nothing but a small tech demo for a larger project the creator had in mind, and this demo somehow consists of even less than the previous games, just being models of the 3 main animatronics under some colored spotlights and a hallway behind you. Entering the hallway, you meet Golden Freddy, which when interacting with him at all ends the demo. Yeah, that's it. The demo did get a few updates after release. On the 23rd of December, an actual map was added that looks vaguely similar to the FNaF restaurant, as well as a working camera and flashlight mechanic. I won't get into the gameplay too much as we're still nowhere near the first FNaF fan game, but in the updated demo, you were to exit the pizzeria and roam around outside collecting floppy disks while Golden Freddy very slowly approaches you. Finding a key and entering the abandoned building takes you back to the pizzeria with the animatronics freaking the fuck out and a chest full of money in Pirate Cove. Finally, upon entering the supply closet, the demo ends. That's about all there was to the demo, as it was abandoned completely afterwards, as confirmed in a Game Jolt post by the creator in 2021. Though it still isn't the very first, it still gets an award for being the earliest known fan game to be posted on Game Jolt. On the topic of Game Jolt, I want to bring attention to some games that had their pages created and supposedly development nearly done, but just never ended up being released. This one being Five Nights at McDonald's. This originally confused me quite a bit, as looking at the FNaF fan game timeline on the wiki, as well as the Five Nights at McDonald's YouTube channel, it seemed like there was a pre-alpha of the game that was released back on September 16th of 2014, 39 days after FNAF's release, but upon searching for and finding the archived Game Jolt page, it shows that there wasn't actually anything ever released, not even after the supposed release date. Reading the description of the game gives us a bit more information about what happened. Apparently the guy who made the page wasn't actually a game developer at all and just posted the page in search of a developer who could help him create it. In the end, the game never made it out of development. Fortunately though, an old abandoned YouTube channel made to tease and promote the game, 3 videos can be found, giving us some insight on what it looked like at the time. The first video is just a 6-second clip of the creator quickly showing what the office looked like at the time, as well as 2 fully functional doors and lights. This video was released on September 21st, which, if you remember the date I mentioned earlier when the page was made, pretty much means that at the time the game was made, the game was either not even started yet or in very, very early stages. The second video on the channel that was posted a month later on October 21st shows off a supposed trailer for the game, which is just an edited version of an old Japanese McDonald's creepypasta video, having some text that flashes on the screen, as well as a still image of what the menu or cover for the Game Jolt page could have possibly looked like. This video isn't really anything too special, though it did seem to stir up a little bit of excitement for the couple of people who had seen it. The final video on the channel, released another 2 months after, shows us a lot more progress being made on the game. In the very beginning, we get a glimpse of a slightly more updated version of the office we had seen before, being smaller, having hallways outside, as well as a desk with a monitor in the middle right in front of you, which is fully functional. In the cameras, we can see what each of the other areas, such as the hallways, party room, and whatever these containment chambers are, as well as there being a toggleable flashlight on the cameras. Hey, maybe Scott stole it for FNaF 2. We also get our first look at what one of the enemies would have been, that being the Hamburglar. At the end of the video, we also get to see him very slowly run down the hallway and jump scare the player, pretty much exactly the same as Foxy would. Though the game never finished development, some still give it props for being the very first game to have a page up on Game Jolt, or so it was thought until now. When scouring literally every archive page for the newly released section of Game Jolt, I came across a page for a game that I have never heard of before, nor have been able to find anyone mention online: A Visit to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. This game's page goes even farther back, going all the way back to August 30th of 2014, literally the same month as Five Nights at Freddy's came out. I say the game's page because sadly, just like the one before, this game never made it out of development, despite the game's description stating that the game was likely almost finished. This game seemed to have a pretty similar concept to FNaF 3D, being just a 3D free roam version of Five Nights at Freddy's, most likely with a more accurate version of the Pizzeria just to look around. That's not all there is though, as there are some lost bits and pieces of what the game could have been left on the archives of the page. The first being a soundtrack containing 1 audio file. What song was it? I have no idea, and no one probably ever will, as it was most likely never saved before the page's deletion. Along with that, there are 2 videos attached to the page. The first called the title screen, and the second, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza teaser. There's just about nothing on the page besides these titles that give us any more information. Given the name of this game is pretty generic and has probably been used over 1 billion times, it's unlikely that it or any of the videos of it will ever be found. Don't worry though, even if somehow this game's page was created 3 weeks after the first FNaF game's release, it still isn't the first. And the next games I'm going to talk about were very much so finished and are for the most part playable to this day. We now leave the world of independently released games that you are able to download and play yourself, and are now onto online game platforms like Roblox and Scratch, which are the easiest for people to develop games on, therefore should be where we're looking for the first FNaF fan game. Released on Scratch just 19 days after FNaF 1, Lizzy Lizard's Hamburgers is the first ever FNaF fan game to be released that didn't include any of the existing characters from the game. In this game, the mechanics are basically about the same. You have cameras, power, doors, lights, and have to defend from the singular enemy, Lizzy Lizard. The objective of this game isn't to survive until 6 AM though, it's just to survive as long as possible, showing you the amount of points you earned upon dying. This game, for being made in such a short amount of time, is just about as buggy as you'd think, dying randomly and for no reason being a bug that isn't too uncommon. Also, for some reason, power drains just normally, but when looking at cameras, it doesn't drain at all, except for when looking at Cam 1B, where it absolutely kills your your shit in like 2 seconds. Pretty much all you can expect from a FNaF fan game made in less than 3 weeks. While this was considered for a while to be the very first FNaF fan game before the discovery of the next ones I'm going to talk about, it still should get a bit of credit for being the very first FNaF fan game to include a totally original character. So good job. I know a lot of people are going to yell at me in the comments if I don't mention this one, but earlier on that same day, another FNaF fan game titled FNaF Scratch Edition was released. It was pretty much just an almost exact remake of FNaF 1, just with some slightly different cameras, though it did have some fun options to choose from. Choosing power would play the game like normal, having a power mechanic whenever using cameras or closing doors. Choosing survival would spawn you into a game similar to the one previous where the goal is just to survive as long as possible. Finally, choosing custom night would give you the option to choose the animatronics AI between easy, medium, and hard, as well as an option to choose the game's modes as well as randomize the AI values. Though these games were made in an impressive 3 weeks after the release of the first FNaF game, there is only one more known game that beats them out. The Pizzeria is a game on Roblox, which is pretty much a one-to-one remake of Five Nights at Freddy's, but on Roblox. I don't have to explain pretty much anything about the gameplay. As you can see in the back, it's literally just FNaF on Roblox. Narrowing down the exact date this came out, though, is the more challenging part. It was originally discovered through an old video covering the game, which came out on August 22nd, while the page for the game was created on August 12th. If you know anything about how Roblox works, though, you can never really trust a creation date on a Roblox game, as once you create one, the only thing you can't change is the creation date, meaning you can technically have it be a recreation of a national tragedy one day and a FNaF remake the other, and no one would know. For now though, this is the earliest FNaF fan game we have to date, but no one even seems to know the actual date it was released. On the surface, all we have is between the 12th and 22nd. That is until when researching the archive, I found a link to the creator's Twitter account. And when searching through their tweets during August of 2014, one in specific can be found mentioning working on a Five Nights at Freddy's game and having the AI nearly finished and just having the animations to work on. This tweet coming from August 19th of 2014. This means that most likely we can narrow down the date from the 12th to just the 19th and 22nd, meaning that this game was fully developed and released within 11 to 14 days of the first FNaF game. Even for how simple of a game FNaF is, and how decently easy coding in Roblox is once you have some experience, this is still insanely impressive. I have a video playing in the background of what the game looked like upon release, and it looks pretty damn good. And for now, this is the final game I have, meaning this is the earliest known FNaF fan game to date. While the original goal of this video was to look through and find the very first FNaF fan game, I didn't just bring up every game for no reason, so I decided to give out some awards to some of the games that might not be the first, but still had something interesting to them. Obviously, the first fan game goes to the Pizzeria, being created on August 19th to the 22nd. The first fan game containing fully original characters goes to Lizzy Lizard's Hamburgers, being released on August 22nd. And finally, really the only one that matters to me, the very first fully original fan game to be released independently, aka not being made on Scratch or Roblox, goes to Night Two Crazies. So congrats. I made this entire video on my phone, so sorry about some dip in quality compared to my other videos. If you enjoyed it though, you should definitely check out my FNaF Lost Media iceberg. It should be on the screen right now. Alright, bye bye.